Hi, what's up? Hey, buddy. Oh my God.
This is episode 5. We're here with Nick Hissom.
Hey.
What's up, man? How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
We're good, man. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, of course. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, we appreciate having you. Let me just tell you a little bit about this song. This is actually one of my favorite songs of all time, and I'm not bullshitting you.
Really?
I have such a history with this song.
Yeah, we have a history with it together.
Yes, yeah. When I travel all over the world, we listen to it at parties, and people will send me like screenshots of them listening to this song in their car.
Wow.
And it just makes me so happy, you know?
So cool.
Yeah. So we're here with Nick. So Nick, so thanks for coming on. Let's talk a little bit about so you were born in London, is that right?
Yeah, born in London, and then I grew up in Europe, and then I came to America when I was 18 to go to school, and then I started recording when I was out here.
Where did you go to school? Penn, right?
Yeah, I went to Penn in Philadelphia, and then while I was at school, I started writing songs in my dorm room, and then I started working with DJs in Vegas, and then I started singing. So
awesome. Okay, so we're gonna hit
cool.
all that.
I know,
We're gonna cover all that, but
there's a lot.
I want to go back. I want to go back to I want to know who you are and where your roots, where you came from. So you grew up in London. What was it like? What was it like growing up in London? So were your parents together, married?
Yeah,
at the time.
Were together.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was really cool. I mean, we had a very nice childhood. It was very idyllic, and the British school system was nice. It was taught very good manners and that kind of stuff. And then, yeah.
What part of London? Or the UK?
Knightsbridge in London. So we lived right near to Harrods, which is a very famous, iconic store. We're an American family that had moved to London. So this was in the early 90s. And London started to become very international because of different laws that had been made, and it became this huge English-speaking hub in the center of Europe. So it was a big boom.
Did you grow up in growing up, were you in a musical family? What was music part of the family? Were you inspired by anything or?
So my mom actually did some records on her own, independently, with I think it was with Warner in England.
And how old are you at this point?
Oh, I was 5 or 6,
Okay,
and then I went to school with her CD and stuff like that, which was cool. She worked with a producer who's really famous actually. His name is Guy Farley, and Guy Farley is my best friend's father. And he now does all the music for The Crown. He's worked with so many very, very famous artists. He's a real classical composer, and my mom recorded the demo with him, and then she started to, focus more on family stuff. So
you're 5 at 6 at this point, 5, 6 years old?
Probably 5.
Okay, so you remember your mom singing?
Well, I don't remember her singing. I never went to the studio, but I remember she had a CD out, and then I brought it to school, and everyone was freaking out that she had a CD, and that was cool. That was my first small exposure to it, and then I always wrote songs when I was little. And I never really thought that I could do it professionally until I got to college. And I had all this free time at Penn because, the classes are pretty light in college, versus high school. You have all this free time. And I started writing in my dorm room, and then I sent it out to different people all over America. And someone, Manufactured Superstars, their names, Brad Roulier was the leader of the group.
But real quick, not to interrupt you, but Nick, when you're 8 to 10 or 12, are you going, okay, I want to be a pop singer, I want to be a singer? What are you thinking at that age?
No, I mean, when I was little, I just wanted to have fun and find myself and party and
just
go
have fun.
And, make friends and be normal and have a good time. And then I realized that I was very not. I was kind of nerdy and into writing and into performing and just into all these things that other people were not into. Yeah. So I started to then. I really tried to fit in, and then
And what age are you at this?
12.
12. Now, let me ask you.
By 15, I was let's not fit in,
Let's be different.
And let's just do your own thing.
Yeah.
And if people make fun of it and stuff, I remember I started modeling and stuff when I was 16, 17. And that was the first foray into being different and kind of out there, and people would be that's it's such a girly thing to do, or it's so
to be
gay or feminine or whatever, and that was mortifying for me at the time, and I was freaking out about it, but I just didn't really care. I wanted to do it, and I thought it was cool, and I could do it, so I did it.
And then so your parents, right? Your real father is he was a banker.
My dad he was in the hedge fund business and private equity and I guess VC and just different.
And so your parents, they're married, obviously, and then they had a divorce. Is that correct?
They were 15. I was 15. Yeah.
So 15 years old.
But I went to school, so I wasn't really around.
Did it affect you though?
No.
Not at all?
Because they're like good friends still. We're all,
But
like,
at the time, though, when you're 15?
No, like I went to boarding school and I was trying to like focus on
you.
fitting in and then also like fitting out, right? Like.
So when they divorced, it was like, it wasn't like, oh, my dad, I'm not talking to my dad, I'm not talking about, it was like, it was just like it was a smooth, it was transition.
It was super easy.
Understood.
Yeah.
And then, so you went to school and you went to boarding school in Switzerland, right?
Yeah.
And what school was that?
So I went to the school called Rose, which is a famous school.
Yeah. One of the most famous.
Well, it's one of the most famous schools in the world. It's the most expensive school in the world, which is why it's famous. There's a lot of very important alumni kids that have gone there from like different royal families or like different leading political families around the world. There are 2 campuses. There's one in Geneva there's one in Rolle outside of Geneva, a little town that's like on the lake. And you stay there from like for your fall and your summer semester, and then for the winter semester from December through March. So when you go away for Christmas holiday, when you come back, you're in the mountain campus, which is in a town called Stad, which became very famous.
Gestad or Stad?
Stad, yeah, Gestad.
Gestad?
Or whatever you want to say, but it's Stad.
So
While
you're in school though, Nick, are you skiing? Like regular high school here, we have PE and we're playing like football or something.
Yeah, PE was skiing.
Wow.
And that's obviously like the school is expensive. It's not expensive just for no reason. It's because you really have like an amazing quality of academic education and also really good quality of life. So people too, but it's mostly based on like you ski every day, right? So the skiing is, and like the tickets and the season passes and the equipment, everything is like built into the school fees and the transportation of all of your clothing, furniture, your trunks, like everything. So there's a lot of logistics in the school of moving like 500 people from one campus to another twice a year. So obviously that increases the cost. It's not like, I didn't find the school to be like overly conspicuous in terms of just people doing fancy stuff to be fancy. It was very much like you're paying for amazing qualities of like academics and sports and services, but it's not like frivolous. It's just it happens to be expensive because you're buying a lot of options.
Yeah.
So it was really cool.
Are you still in touch with some of the people you went to high school with? Are you still these lifelong friends?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And that's the other thing. When you're like in a boarding school setting, like Rose, they call it a school for life because you end up maintaining those friendships with people for the whole of your life. So, all of them I'm in touch with, and we try to meet up every year, at least once a year.
Okay.
So it's super
awesome.
fun.
So you graduate high school, and then what's the next move? So you say I'm going to you want to come to the U.S. and go to school?
So went to the U.S., go to school. My parents are American. My whole family's American. So they're like, you have to come to America to experience like American college life, and learn about how business and the system here works, like intense capitalism, like meritocracy, everything else, which is very different from a lot of the economies in Europe, that are like more. I guess like slightly more like less capitalist, right? And so that was really important for them. So I came to school and I wanted to be close to New York or in New York so I could model and like do everything except go to school. And my parents like, you can't be in New York because it's like we want you to be on campus and do the whole like real college like fraternity.
This is at Penn, right? At
the like the crazy.
So that's an Ivy League school.
It is an Ivy League school,
Yeah.
and so they were like, we want you to do the whole like red cups like crazy thing and like just get into it. But I couldn't go to New York because they thought that it wasn't like campusy enough here. It's like you end up living in an apartment and taking classes. So I went to Penn so I could be close to New York. They have an amazing campus. We had great life on campus, and then I started working. I was signed to Ford.
So a model agency.
Yeah, I was signed to Ford.
What
Models.
age are you at this point?
I got signed at like 16, 17, but I was in boarding school, so I could only do shoots like never really. So I was working with a famous photographer called Kaisi Fang who like discovered me, and I just cold emailed him, and then he called me out of the blue, and he's really famous if you Google his work. And then I came to America to like properly work, and I got here with my first week landing here. I get dropped by Ford because they were like, oh, like, we signed you like when you were 16 and you look different now and whatever.
Now you're 17. Now you're 17.
Yeah, now you're anyway. They saw me in real life and they were like, oh my God, let's not do that. So
how does that make you feel though? Like, so you got the deal,
yeah,
and then and now you don't. How does that make you feel?
It felt like absolute shit. You arrive here all excited, you're full of life, you're 18, you just graduated, and you're like ready to do something and embark on like a whole journey, right? And then you just get like hit in the face, like the boom, like you just get dropped. So I went and I took my little portfolio, I went to every single agency, tried to get re-signed. I don't know who I got re-signed
But it
with.
didn't make you quit though.
No, I didn't quit.
Because a lot of people, when they get faced at, they call it a day.
No, I mean, you can't quit. And, one of the biggest things that the most amount of time that I've lost is by quitting in anything. So, and obviously you're super
Say that one more time,
the most amount of time that I've lost is by quitting. Because if you quit, you're just delaying. I mean, if you really love something, you're never going to quit. So when you quit or you give up momentarily, you're just procrastinating at a higher level, right? And you're super successful and you've built businesses and you've been through so much. So it's like, if you just quit at something, then you're just delaying however long a period of time it is that you're quitting, you're just delaying that time where you could be growing, you could be learning, you could be moving. So
it was almost a good thing to get cut.
Yeah, I guess. So I got caught. I was distraught for 2 days, and then I was like, let's go and listen to good music that inspires you and stuff, and get back on the horse. And so then I met Peter Brandt Jr., who became a very close friend of mine, and we just started going out to a lot of different fashion shows.
Who's his mother?
Peter Brandt is Stephanie Seymour's son.
Okay.
And he is very well known in the fashion industry. And this was when he wasn't known in the fashion industry because he was brand new as well. We were both 18. And we started going out to all these shows that he would take me to. And we had a great, super fun time. And, the fashion community and the media just really embraced him. Not so much me, but I was the plus one. So I was there for everything. And from there, I was introduced to Tommy Hilfiger, and I started doing some shoots with him. And, I was just the modeling thing was never a big moment for me. It was just more of a platform.
Part of the ride.
So I started to get exposure in front of cameras, and I started doing interviews, and I started thinking about what I would like to actually create versus just being photographed, changing clothes all the time.
But Nick, let me ask you a question. So when you get that success, do you feel like, okay, now Ford, they shouldn't have dropped me?
No,
is it ever in the back of your mind?
Ford probably did a good job in dropping me because I didn't really have any success. I blew up as I didn't even blow up. I was just the plus one.
You were getting some work.
Someone that did blow up. I was getting some work, but very, very low money. Nothing that Ford would have cared about. But what did happen was I met all these cool people, and those people were in music, in fashion, in professional image making, in television, and all these things. And so from there is how we started to come together, and I started being able to ask them what do you think about music?
That's what I want to talk to you about.
How does it progress?
Okay, so you're in Penn at this point, right? So you're in Penn.
Yeah.
You're writing songs.
I'm taking the train to New York.
Okay, so when do you go? Okay, so when do you say to yourself, I want to be a singer? This is what I want to do. Where are you at? What age are you?
I think it's always been innate within me for a very long time. When I was able to express it was when I had opened this big can of worms in front of the media at a very young age. And at that point, nobody could really stop what was going on, which is cool. And I felt sort of liberated because I was out of my house for the first time, out of boarding school for the first time. Because you can't, I couldn't be singing and songwriting in boarding school. It's you're sharing a room. You can't make noise. You can't do music. You can't do these things. So it was the first time I was living alone with my own free will to do what I wanted to do. And then I had started getting in media, and from there I had one little foot in the door, and I was able to start asking people about who they knew in music, because there's so many ties between music and fashion and the whole world of celebrities, and everything is connected. So
are you when your genre of music, are you influenced by Backstreet, NSYNC, Usher? Who had when you wanted to do this, were you saying okay, this is who I like, this I like that? What was who inspired you?
At the time, I think it was a lot of music that I had grown up with for sure, and David Guetta and Black Eyed Peas and everyone that was cool. And I remember we were having this big. Remember this was 2008, 2010 is when I went to university. So it's I
forget the age difference.
It feels even me, I'm so old now. I feel like it's a long time ago. So yeah, that was when David Guetta, for example, was becoming mainstream, right, in America, and Swedish House Mafia as Swedish DJs were becoming chart toppers on Billboard regular charts, right, not just EDM or dance charts. And that's when the DJ boom was happening in Vegas, and there was just this big like merger between like pop really went from like a pop R&B sound to like a pop EDM sound, and that was really cool. And you were able to then perform like pop music in the nightclub, and those became like arenas and a stage, and that was really cool. So I kind of grew up in all of that. Now my musical taste is much more like kind of open. I think that now, because of the internet, there's so many artists on Spotify, and like everyone can be independent. Like everyone's music can be whatever they want.
Yeah.
You know.
So Nick, but bring me back to like, okay, so I want to do music. What was
Yeah.
like your first break? What was your first like recording session? Who took you under? Where did you say like, I want to start writing music? Who did you collab with? Who was the producer?
So my little brother knew a lot of people in the nightclub business.
And what age is this?
I was like 20. He was probably 18.
Now, do you graduate from Penn?
Yeah, I graduated.
Okay, so you
yeah.
graduate from Penn.
Yeah,
Okay.
I graduated. So I was like, yeah, probably 20. And I had been going out doing the fashion thing.
Did you have honors? Would you graduate with
2
honors?
years. No, I mean, I had like a B+ average, B+,
A
A
B?
minus.
I got a B one time in my life. My mom was so happy.
Oh, what? You didn't have good grades?
No, I wasn't a good student.
But
So you were a good student.
well, I mean, like I always had to maintain at least a B average
Yeah.
because my parents would be upset otherwise. But I normally had like an A minus. I didn't struggle a lot in school. I was very gifted with that. I've always been very studious, and I liked reading. So, and I liked writing, and that's how I started applying that to the music. When I write like the song we were listening to when we came in, like I wrote like all those words and
But
all those
who was?
lyrics.
But
and-
what age though when you start like because I want to get into your music career because it's impressive. You know, you had a top 40 hit or top 40 like in the top 50 hit.
well, yeah, I was like 42 and 46.
40
I wish it had been 40, but
But that's
like,
still good though.
No, I mean,
how many people can say that?
Well, I mean, it got to a point where, again, talking about quitting, you know, a lot of things got really crazy, which is why I took some time off.
After that or
After that, and
Okay.
like during that whole thing,
But the-
because things were just like really disproportional in my life because of a bunch of other stuff. But
we'll get there. We'll go back to
yeah,
that.
we'll get there. But like,
let's go back a little more.
so I sent my songs, a demo of me singing Save the World by Swedish House Mafia. Oh my God, so embarrassing. I couldn't even sing. It was terrible. A terrible demo of me singing Who's Gonna Save the World Tonight by Swedish House Mafia to a bunch of DJs, like maybe like 15 DJs, right? That my little brother and Jesse Waits, who was the head of XS nightclub in Vegas,
His brother Cy, right?
and his brother Cy, yes. And they're still to this day very close friends of mine. I sent it to Jesse and my brother, and I was like, listen, do you know any DJ that's like looking for a vocalist? Here's my terrible demo. It was How to Save a Life by The Fray and Save the World by Swedish House Mafia. And Manufactured Superstars, Brad Roulier and Sean Sabo, they're a duo. They owned something called Beatport, which was like it was like iTunes for DJs at the time. So they had a big song out. They were #1 on Beatport. They were doing really well. They were doing these huge tours, like 1,000, 2,000 people, 10,000 people, 30,000 people. They had a residency at XS.
So they would play every week.
They would play like every week. And they would go to I performed everywhere with them. I did main stage at EDC with them for like 50,000 people. I mean, we did Red Rocks, 30,000 people.
But are you signed at this point or no?
No, not signed.
Okay. So you're still trying to get there.
Yeah, I sent them a demo, and they were like, "Listen, we have this track. It's called Killing Tonight." Oh my God, guys.
No, it's okay, man.
Anyway, so I was like 19 or 20 years old, so it's just funny. That's all. So it's called Killing Tonight. So they're like, "Come to Denver and record." So I went.
Can we find Killing Tonight?
It's
Is
out
it
there.
out there?
No, I don't know. I don't know if you can find it. It's so. So I went to Denver. It's actually my biggest regret. Another thing, that quitting thing. Just when you're making art, put the art out. Because I went to Denver, we recorded this song. It was amazing, right? We made a really cool music video. It was super cool. It worked with Kenny Ortega, like had all this amazing stuff.
But you're still
going
climbing
on.
at this point, right?
Oh,
so
still
your
very
demo's
much
out.
climbing,
So
very
who,
much climbing.
Who says, okay, I wanna like, okay, I'm interested in this. Who?
Well, so it was a producer called Dallas Austin, and Dallas Austin's very famous. He worked with Justin Bieber. He worked with Pink, Chris Brown. Like he's a major multi-platinum guy. So
he finds you.
He found me through a guy, Tim Cash, my first manager who worked for MTV, doing a like Top of the Pops, like top charting MTV TV hosting. So he would interview everyone that had a hit single, and so he knew everyone hot in music. So I started getting hot with Manufactured Superstars. We never released Killing Tonight, but I would get on stage at the end of their set, And like I'd never been on stage before in my life, and I would just jump on stage in front of like 5,000 people, like 10,000 people, and they had no idea who were there, and they would just be like, "Oh, this is our new song, featuring Nick," and like here he is, and I would just pop out and just start singing to these people.
And what was the reaction?
And it was good, but
was
like
cool.
what a crazy thing to do.
What was it like a drug for you? Did you
it
feel
was
like
nuts.
how did it make you feel?
Beyond crazy,
Like high,
beyond
right? Like
crazy,
the best
like
feeling?
out of body. Like I would
Yeah.
get off stage and not even remember being on the stage. It was so intense because I was so scared. I'm so introverted. I was absolutely shit scared.
But you felt
Like,
good
I
though,
was-
right?
Yeah, I did.
Like
I did.
euphoria.
But it was like, no, it wasn't even euphoria. It was literally like terror.
Oh,
and I
terror.
would just push through it and do it because I wanted to do it, and I just did it. And again, just push yourself when you're afraid. Just do it, and it will work out because, like, as well, when you're a superstar and you get on stage and everybody knows the song and they all know you and like you, they're excited. They want you to be there. They're like, they want you to perform for them, and they're happy. So you're walking into a room of love and acceptance. When they don't know who you are and they don't know the song, first of all, people hate songs they don't know. And secondly, people hate people they don't know in general. So you're getting on stage as a total stranger in front of all these people to literally like stop the music that they do know and like ruin their whole night with like your new song.
Is that how you felt?
Oh, totally. And that's exactly what you're doing. And
Were you booed? Were you booed?
No, I mean, well, once or twice,
It
yeah,
hap-
but
it
like
has
it
to happen, right?
happens.
It
all of
happens, yeah.
So you're getting on, but then you hope to win them over through the performance, and you hope to like do something really hot, and really cool, really meaningful. And you just have to like set your face into the whole like performance thing, where it's like even if you make eye contact with someone, it's like a crazy exchange. You're so committed to the face that it doesn't matter.
Do you
like
take your eye off the person?
No, you just do it. But like the face is the mask, you know. So you got like the thing going on with the eyes, but there's nothing really coming, you know. And you just perform. You just do it.
Nick, when did things start? So okay, so you're doing that. You're trial and
Yeah.
error. You're failing a little bit.
Sure,
you're getting a
all
few
the
boosts,
time.
but things are starting to turn around.
Yes.
And so when do things start going? Okay, so you start going. Okay, I'm getting some traction here.
So it took a long time,
Took
right?
a while.
Like took like 7 years. or
Anything,
6
like
years.
everything.
From like everything, but like probably from like 18 until like 25, I struggled, and I bounced between like Dallas, Austin. I worked with Mick Schultz, who's amazing, that did Jeremiah, and I had a song and a video with him. Actually, Mick Schultz, I did release that song. It's my first single, which was called If I Die Young, and that was #1 in Turkey. It charted in France. I did a bunch of performances. That was really cool. Started getting traction.
But doesn't it make you feel good because like nothing happens overnight? You know,
Nothing happens
like no
overnight.
success is going to happen. It's a long road to it.
Yeah.
And this is so.
But it wasn't like it. You know, at the end of the day, it wasn't enough. It still hasn't been enough. I still have to push it further and go further and further and harder and harder because like it just, you know, music is so competitive and you have to be nuts. You have to go way, you know, if there's a cliff, you got to jump way off and above and over the edge and completely head first. You know, there's no playing it safe. So, you know, I had great songs. I'm really proud of them. The things that are out. It was amazing feeling to like hear my song on the radio. Like,
Yeah,
you know,
what was that like? The first time you hear your song itself on
coolest
the
thing
radio,
in the world.
ever, right?
Coolest
Where-
thing ever.
Where?
Oh my God, that's the song. Yeah, this was 2013, guys.
Wow.
And I remember being in Turkey and I heard this on the radio in the car from the airport to
This song right here.
where we're staying. This on the radio.
This is the first
yeah.
song you heard on the radio.
It's the first song I ever heard on the radio. Yeah, #1 in
Wow.
Turkey, and it charted in France. I performed
is
it
cool.
like. Oh.
So cool.
You know
That's
what?
you singing?
Yeah, I mean my
Wow.
voice sounds really different because it was
Who produced this?
Mick Schultz.
Wow, this is a great
This
song.
was all
I never
over.
knew this one. You know the song?
I've heard this.
Well,
song
it
for-
was like
it's
you know,
been
it was a bop.
all
It was,
over.
it was fun, and it was like, it was a young song. I was a young kid, like I was 22,
Wow.
21.
So you hear this on the radio,
So I hear it on the radio.
and then so you hear this. Okay, so you hear this on the
Ryan,
radio.
you don't know that?
I like it.
Yeah, I recognize that.
And
Yeah.
but this didn't do like people in America, like the music industry didn't care about that song. Like
Yeah.
nobody cared. So
And what was the tie with Turkey? It was just like,
I don't know. I
is
just
it like
I
the
had
Searching for Sugar Man thing where he's a hit in South Africa?
Literally a Sugar Man thing. And I have a Sugar Man thing. It's weird. I have a Sugar Man thing. Like in Japan, I have a fan
Oh,
base. I have a fan base in Indonesia, in the
What
Philippines.
does Sugar Man thing mean?
In India.
Searching for Sugar Man.
Oh,
It's like,
Searching for Sugar Man.
yeah,
That's the
he's
best
from,
documentary
Yeah,
ever.
like,
He's
yeah.
from
go places,
Michigan.
Oh,
dude,
he's like the Sugar
They
Man.
thought he died.
Yeah, and you don't even know, and you have like this big song
Oh, wow.
somewhere, and that happened with me in a lot of places in like Europe and in Asia. It's still happening even now, right? So, but America didn't care. So anyway, but that song got me signed to Larry Rudolph, who's Britney Spears' manager, and then
But what
he
label is
introduced-
this? Or he's the manager?
He's just a manager.
Is that the guy we met at the Breakfast Club?
No, that was
Okay.
Derek Jackson.
We'll go into
Oh my
that later.
God.
We're gonna go into that
Brian,
story later.
I'm such a disaster story. Like I don't even know why I'm on the podcast.
This is great.
I have had more managers and more failures and
But
more
that's
producers
part of it.
and more like biggest single evers that totally flopped than any artist combined times
That's not
10.
true.
Like,
That's not true.
No, it literally is the truth. And you know what? It's fine. The
Well,
whole,
two
whole
songs you
point of
have-
it is that it's fine.
2 songs that you have are some of my favorite songs of all time.
Thank you. And I'm really proud of every song that I put out in terms of the writing. They're all very true to me at the time. And like a lot of the time with these songs, we would put out the single. Single would be really well received. We had great marketing, great promotion. Everyone would go crazy. And then we would just kind of like mess it up. Like either we were too young or we would run out of steam or we'd run out of money or like we just didn't like have our videos together or whatever. But like it's so momentum building that like you can't spike and then disappear, and that's what happens so many times.
But where did Larry take you? So when you signed with Larry,
so Larry picked me up off If I Die Young, and then that was the first like really powerful American like major superstar manager that I had, and he introduced me to Steve Morales, who's an amazing producer for Enrique Iglesias, for Christina Aguilera, for everybody with Diamond albums, and he's the most accomplished person I've ever worked with.
So
and
things take off with him. So when you so you and Steve get together, right?
So me and
now
Steve
the
got
songs
together.
get better.
We did an EP called Love Energy that I released. It came out. People liked it. Like we didn't have any marketing support, but it did well. We got some radio play, but like 92 on the chart, 78 on the chart. Like again, a huge firework that Jen does burn out really quick.
How do you go through that emotionally though? So you're thinking like,
I mean,
okay,
it
this is going to be the
sucks.
next thing,
Yeah,
and then
you give your everything to it. And I'm filming videos. I'm like being tied up upside down and stuff, and doing
you
all this
touring?
crazy stuff, and like not touring, but like I had like different endorsement deals with different brands that would keep us afloat. So I was one of the first ambassadors for Jet Smarter when like nobody knew who they were, because they wanted to access like a group of young, like wealthy guys that were young but weren't rich enough to have like their own jets yet, so that they were the client of Jet Smarter, buying seats and buying memberships. And so a lot of those people were around me at the time because I was in the clubs performing in LA and Vegas.
where are you
and New
living at
York.
this time of your life? Where are you
In
living?
LA, in an
LA?
apartment in LA.
And you're what, 25, 24?
Like 23 to 25. It was like a weird time. And then at 25, I moved to Miami, and I moved into Steve Morales' house in South Florida in Cutler Bay. And I was like, I'm just going to stay here, and I'm not going to leave until it's done. And that's when stuff got really serious, and that's when things really like took off, and that was very exciting.
Is that when He Ain't Better was written?
That's when we did He Ain't Better. We had a song that was like a Bryson Tiller song that we had somehow
Play
gotten
He Ain't Better.
from like Bryson. Oh my gosh, again.
No,
Again,
I just wanna hear it,
I'm
yeah.
really proud of the song. It's
No,
just
it's-
weird to like, it's always weird to hear old music, you know.
That was your biggest charted song,
That
right?
was the biggest charting song, and it had a remix with Zoe Dollars on it.
So where does that take you? So when that song hits so that song charts like 42, right?
So
44.
that's what got me my deal with Sony ATV and with
Okay.
Sony Red and like radio play, and like
But
it
how-
got us
how do
into
you-
top
so-
40 for airplay. It just wasn't top 40 Billboard.
How do you
but
get approached though? So when you get this song comes out,
Yeah.
and then who approaches you from Sony?
We approached them. Like
you
gotta-
approached them?
So my
Are you-
manager Derek Jackson was brought on board, and he managed Scott Storch. And all of these names in music are super famous.
Yeah, I
like,
know Scott Storch.
People that are really into music, like they would know all of these people. And maybe a fraction of them know who I am too. Is like the largest disaster ever. But anyway, so Derek was this legendary manager that found Scott, and he was like, let's make the project more R&B and like bring this back, and that's how we came up with this He Ain't Better sound.
But do you audition in front of Sony execs to get the contract? Do you have to go live or no?
I walked in with like 3 songs that I had written. This, a Bryson Tiller leak that like came out, and then Bryson like sued it or something. You know, again, another catastrophe.
Wait, with Steve? Mm-hmm. So it's like, okay.
So it was like Bryson Tiller that wrote it, and we got the song, and I don't know how we got the song, and then like I just cut it because they told me it was fine, and then they just put it on SoundCloud, and then suddenly we had like everybody from Sony, like RCA or whatever, whoever Bryson was signed to, like suing us and like taking it down, going crazy and stuff. So that song, this song, He Ain't Better, that Zoe Dollars then jumped on the remix for, which helped a lot because he put us on the front page of XXL, which is like a major hip hop music.
big
You know,
time.
like it's what I would read and be like, oh, I wish to be in there one day. So like I started having these moments with this song where it was like I would go into the label, instead of them be like, oh, this is like, we need a hit, we want this, we want that. They were like, oh no, like we can work with this. Like let's
This
go
song,
to
He Ain't Better.
this song, He Ain't Better. And
So
it
that had
changed
some
a
life
lot.
for you. It had some life
Oh,
for you.
I mean, 2 years of life off this song, and like it. I went to Japan on this song. Like I had like a whole fan base there. I did a tour over there. Korea, I did like the cover of GQ and GQ Italia for this song.
Yeah,
Like,
but so all that
charting in England. I got my first like 6-figure check from the label from this song. Like I got 2 of them. Like I had ATV. I signed up Marty Bandiera. Like no, it was a big deal. Like and I was like shutting down streets and stuff in New York,
but
like
Nick,
for
earlier,
release parties, performances.
But earlier you say, you know, the hustle and you weren't this, but you were successful.
No,
and now
like,
all that hard work from 18 to 23, 24, it's paid off on this
from
song.
Like 25 to 27. It really did. And then, you know, I started working with an artist called Taisha, and she became she signed to Atlantic, and then I sort of took a step back from music, but you know, we did a very big deal. And so it all was successful. Like it all became a success finally after 9 years of killing myself to do it. But the issue was that like there were certain things going on like behind the scenes that were making life really difficult.
Industry stuff, right?
Industry stuff and like personal stuff with me. And like, again, we spent a lot of money. We had the Sony support system. We had everything, but I guess they didn't feel that there was enough return on the investment to like continue dumping money into the project. And like when you're flying around with radio reps and you're doing like 30, 40 cities in
Is
a
Sony
month,
paying for this?
well, Sony's paying for it out of the advances that they're giving you.
So you have to
right?
reimburse them.
You're reimbursing everything. So it's like, you know, we had a big budget, but radio alone can be like $80,000. It's your whole budget. And then you're going to 50 cities in like 30 days. And it's not just me, it's me and like a rep from Sony and like 2 other people.
Steve Morales is with you?
Well, Steve wasn't with me, but then Steve's running a studio for me in Miami. Then I'm doing like these very expensive release events in like New York. Like we took over the SLS hotel in Miami. Like these
But
crazy
it was fun
things.
though, right?
No, it was fun. And by the way, we did like the SLS party for maybe like $3,000 or $4,000 when it was like it would have cost like $200,000 to take over that hotel. They gave it to us for free because we had big exposure and we had all the paparazzi showing up and like all this stuff. But when like there's so much churn in an artist's life, when you have like a team, travel expenses, performance expenses, marketing, promo, publicity, getting yourself to like be dressed up and look good and events and everything. Like there's a lot of money that goes behind doing music, not as an independent, of course not, but on like you know, we're going for top 40 Billboard level.
But Sony's backing you, right?
Yeah, and Sony's backing me, and I'm competing with like Ariana Grande, Post Malone, Justin Bieber. Those are the other names on the chart that week that are literally like 38, 39, and I'm 42, and Ariana's 44, coming up with another single, and like my money going up against Ariana Grande's money and her label and her team and like 1,000 people globally that are representing that product. So it's super difficult as an emerging artist to like carve out a niche, especially when I did it like 10 years ago, because the label still mattered, the executives really mattered, everything mattered. Today, you can just consistently release music on the internet. You can build a fan base.
It's a different ballgame.
You can do anything. You can sell your own merch. You can put your own records out. You can do like OnlyFans. You can literally do anything. Subscription model, whatever you want.
So Nick,
passes and like make money and like have a business, and you can start cash flowing 10, 20,000
not relying on the record
without relying on a label. With me and my time, it was like, yeah, maybe you're spending that 10, 20,000 a month or whatever, but the label is okaying everything, and the second they stop it, you kind of die.
They kind of leave you high and dry. But so after, real quick, so after He Ain't Better, right?
Yeah.
There's a follow-up called Tell Me.
There's a follow-up called Tell Me.
Is
which
Sony involved with that, though?
It was a Sony release, but I like literally had no money at it. Like I didn't even have
They weren't going to give you money for that.
No, I didn't even have like 2,000 or 3,000. I didn't have like the writer of Tell Me, the guy that I co-wrote it with, one of the best songs ever, and he wanted like $4,000 for me to release the song. And I didn't have the money to pay him. So he was like, if you promote this song, I'll take it off the internet. And I already had that happen to me with Bryson Tiller and all these other people. And it was so embarrassing and so hurtful. So I was like, okay, I'll leave it on Spotify. They haven't like ripped it off the internet yet.
But you got 1 million. Did you have a question?
No. Tell Me doesn't have any streams. It was never promoted.
No, it wasn't.
Like 10,000 streams, not
but
even.
He Ain't Better, though, on Spotify is like 1 million.
He Ain't Better is like almost 2 million.
Almost 2 million.
Yeah, almost 2 million. I have other songs that like
This is my favorite song, one of my favorite songs.
Me too, and I wish I could
all
promote
time.
it. But again, it's 4 years old now. I got to write a $5,000 check just to promote it, and then what am I do? Promote a 5-year-old song?
Yeah, no, I understand.
Maybe.
No, I got you.
Maybe.
Okay, so
I had one quick question
Yeah,
for you
go
that I
ahead.
wanted to take it back. Like when you first you described getting on stage and the pressure for the first time, like experiencing that. Had you had anything previous, like sports, or was there anything in life where you had a crowd of people
Nothing.
watching you perform?
Zero.
Wow.
So you were just
I'm just
thrown into
crazy.
this. There's no training for. There's no.
Nothing. I
There's
was
no
just
making
like-
the band training for
No,
this.
I was just like, I want to be a singer. I came from wanting to write and sing and be in a studio and create music. And then the whole performance thing was like, oh my gosh, like, well, if you're going to be a singer and you can't perform, like, then you have no job. So you got to perform. And suddenly I was like, oh my God, I have to perform. I can't just write in a studio and sing and stuff. So I
but
got
it
to
was
like
what a great experience.
get
Though.
out there. It was a cool experience.
You
Like,
wouldn't change it for anything, right?
I wouldn't change it for anything. And again, I would like, I think like taking the time off that I did because like I didn't know where next to go and like my infrastructure with the label, the team, everything just collapsed. And I was so devastated by it all that I just like for years, like didn't even know what to do with myself. Like now I think I've gone and like built a business outside of music and I'm like secure financially and like I'm not living day to day off of how well my song is performing. Yeah. Like once you've done that, then you're able to like you with this podcast. If you want to invest into your art and invest into something and try a passion project, maybe it does well, maybe it doesn't. That's on you. But like when you're waking up every day and your happiness is dependent by your like chart position or your streams or
so this is a relief actually, almost.
Well, it's really nice to like not have to care.
Yeah.
But I also realized recently that I can't live without music. I can't live without entertainment. It's just like who I am. And so I'm gonna, I'm getting back into it and like I have all this like viral stuff going on Facebook. That's and cool. Like Instagram and like and I'm gonna put out songs again and just like go for it and like not care and I'm a really good performer now. Like I can get on stage in front of 30,000 people and not care because I've done it like 50, 100 times.
That's
like,
amazing.
Yeah, so with all that practice.
Skill, yeah.
So you get done with all the music. So let's go back a little bit. So you lived at the Wynn, right?
Yeah.
The Wynn Casino. What was it like living there?
So very fun.
It was fun, right?
Yeah, I mean,
so
it was amazing.
Okay.
Well,
so do you mind if I like?
Yeah, I mean, I don't care.
Okay. So your mom's married to Steve Wynn, the casino owner, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm from Vegas as well.
Right.
So my dad used to be the poker manager at one of the casinos.
So cool.
It was so cool because
I
used to get these comps, buffets. I'd bring my friends. Obviously, it's not at the level of living there, but it was just such a cool vibe. This was like late 90s, 80s when like Mike Tyson was the heavyweight champ and he would stay at the Dunes and he would come through. And like just it was an experience.
Yeah.
So like, so what was it like living at the Wynn? Like, so XS is popping, right?
I mean, well, yeah. XS
or is this before?
No, XS was popping. I moved to Vegas when I was 16, so I couldn't go out until I was 21 because you're not allowed, especially if you like are the owner of the casino, then you definitely cannot like violate your own liquor license laws, right? So I could not go to the club until I was literally 21.
Steve was strict on like that, right?
Well, I mean,
there was no way around it.
It's a public company. There's zero way around it.
No tolerance.
Well, I mean, we could like go into the nightclub with people from the gaming commission to like see the club, to walk the floor from a business setting, and like couldn't stop moving, escorted by the commissioners or by security, and then straight back out. So like you could go in and come out, but you couldn't stay.
Did you have friends in Vegas? So did you guys go to the restaurant? Hey guys, come with me to the restaurants. We can sign in.
Yeah. I mean, like my friends would come and stay, and like that was great. And
Steve was cool with all that. Like
yeah,
you put him up.
It was always my old childhood friends. I've always had the same friends since I was little. I made one or a couple new friends in Vegas that became like real family, but not a lot of friends there. And we were mostly like in the hotel when we were there. I was at school as well until I was 18. So I started hanging out in Vegas more when I was in college and really when I was 21. Because otherwise I was just like in school and there was no reason for me to be there.
Yeah, but it must have been cool, right?
But when I was 21 and moved to Vegas, oh my gosh, it was a lot of fun.
Another level.
Yeah, because like the DJ boom was in the height of the DJ. Like, so we would have like dinner with Steve Aoki. And I remember one time Steve Aoki was like hollowing out one of his cakes, because he throws cake and he smashes people in the face with the cake. Yeah. So he's like hollowing out the cake, and I'm like, why are you hollowing out the cake? He's like, well, they brought me a cake at some other show, and it was like frozen or something, and it hit this lady in the face, and broke on her face like a brick, And I was like, oh my God. He's like, I don't want to hurt anyone, so I make sure that I hollow all the cakes out personally, just filled with whipped cream and like some icing. It's like it's nothing.
That's his thing, right?
Yeah, and I remember actually at that dinner, he was like, oh, you want to go like whitewater rafting? Because he put the rafts, the balloon boats into the crowd, and they would crowd surf you. You'd act like you're rafting on the thing. And I remember being like, I would love to go, but I'm literally like 20 years old and 9 months, and I couldn't go. So I walk everyone to the club, and it was like Diplo, Steve Aoki, Paris Hilton, like all of these like super famous like athletes and like NBA, because like there's March Madness, like everyone comes to Vegas, the fighters, the basketball players, everybody, football, everyone. So there's all these massive celebrity groups, and we would have dinner with Jesse and Cy, and they were in charge of hosting all the VIPs and especially the celebrities for the evening.
I remember those two guys when they used to work. I'm a little older than you. They one was the doorman at House of Blues in Mandalay Bay, and the other one was a bartender.
Yeah.
That's how far back I go. That's like 98, 99.
Equity partners in the biggest nightclub in the world. I think today still XS, the largest revenue nightclub in the world.
Wow. So when you're 21 years old,
21,
where's your party?
Finally turned 21, did my birthday at Tryst, and I released that song, If I Die Young, on my 21st birthday because I knew I was going to get a bunch of media
and the
because of the whole thing. And I was like, instead of you guys talking about me just being 21, like partying and doing nothing or whatever, let's talk about my song coming out, right? Versus like how wasted everyone gets on their 21st birthday. So I made the 21st birthday like kind of a work media thing. We did a big party at Tryst. And then
where's Tryst at? That's in the
Tryst was like the red nightclub with the waterfall in the Wynn where you go downstairs, and then it became Intrigue now, but it still has the waterfall.
Oh, I think I was there.
And then we did another party at XS. We did my birthday on Friday, and then XS on Saturday, and it was Afrojack DJing. And we were, I think, the first like mainstream Vegas club to sign Afrojack to a residency when he was like, still from like the Netherlands, or I'm not sure exactly like where he was blowing up, but he was working in Europe and at the festivals, but he wasn't like big marquee name yet.
So he got big in Vegas.
Well, a lot of the DJs got big in Vegas through the residency programs with the nightclubs, and also those nightclubs were large enough businesses where they could actually afford to pay those rates,
Crazy money.
That
changed the game.
It changed the game, and it was really Jesse and Cy, because they were friends with all of them, and they were the young guys like doing it in the club, and so they were like, hey, we've got to sign these DJs. They're going to become like the new superstars. And like, if you had told anybody in like 2011, 12, 13 that a DJ could bring in like millions of dollars in revenue, or like headline Coachella, or like do the biggest stadiums and arenas in the world and massive tours and #1 songs, so no one would have believed you. It was a very niche thing to be a DJ. They were like in Ibiza, before.
Nick, Cy and his brother, do they have to convince Steve, like, hey, we're going to pay this guy $100,000 to come in for the weekend, or what's the process there?
I mean, Steve would obviously approve.
Was he the last sign off?
Well, yeah, I mean, everything at the hotel was always
because the numbers that these DJs were making were like it grew, right? I mean, it would cost. I think
it was more based off like, hey, this DJ brought in this amount of revenue.
I see.
Now for the next show, we want to pay them this. And I think if you're presenting it that way as a business, then talent is a business.
The numbers
like
make
anything
sense.
else. If the numbers make sense, then you have to do it.
All right, Nick, that's awesome, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're done with your music career, right? Not now. You want to go back, and I understand, but so he ain't better rolls out.
Yeah.
And so what do you now? What do you do now? What do you say to yourself? So I'm gonna put this on the shelf.
So I'm like,
where do you go from here?
Totally like not know what to do with my life at the time. Like,
do I know you at this time, or am I just meeting you?
Yes. Wait, we met each other like at the height, and then the collapse. So when I met you, it was like the height, and I remember we had Red Button Productions, and you were filming with Cameron, and I was like going to Asia to do like these whole tours, do like 5-6 shows a week, like video game endorsement deals, whatever. And then I get on a plane, like met you in London. We'd go to Manchester, do the whole premiere. You took over the whole Chilton Firehouse Hotel, go crazy partying, everything. And then we would go from there to like South Africa, 3 weeks shooting with Bonong, and then like I would be off somewhere else to do the GQ shoot, and like it was crazy. I remember for at least the first like year that we knew each other, like you were full-time running a business and running a full-time production studio and shooting like multi-million-dollar pictures for Hulu and Netflix and all these different things, and winning awards and stuff, and like Cam was working with you, and I was like on tour and had songs on the radio, and like we were a little
that was the best time of my life.
We were a little celeb crew.
That was actually the best part of my life, man. That was so much fun.
So fun. And then it just started like doing this for me.
No, it never did.
And then it just all exploded, and just it all died, and I didn't know what to do, where to go, whatever. And so I remember I came to New York and I stayed in your apartment. Oh my gosh, I was like 28 years old with no money and no career. Though. Staying in your apartment is so bad.
But you know what, man, you have something in you.
And I like worked as like your camera guy, like
okay. I gotta tell the story.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tell the story.
So we're at the Breakfast Club, right? We're filming this Banong Mathiba. She was in my documentary, and we're making a deal with the TV stations in South Africa. She's coming here, so
she did Breakfast Club.
Yeah, so we go. So Charlemagne liked her. They connected, and we went to the Breakfast Club, and we had everything I've filmed. We always did a third camera. So the third camera was built like an iPhone kit, and I asked Nick if he could help us and just mess around and film with the camera, and Nick took to it. I could tell you
I had
were
nothing
having
else
fun.
to do. I was going to do a good job because you asked me to do it. So I'm gonna go do. If I'm asked to do it, I'll do it well.
So we're in there. We're like filming through the window, Breakfast Club, all this, and then Nick's like, "Oh my gosh." I could see something go on Nick's face, it seemed like a humbling moment. And he's like, "You don't understand, like that was my old manager right there."
Yeah.
And there was another rapper in there.
Yeah,
and Nick's like,
I think it was DaBaby.
Was it DaBaby?
I think it was DaBaby, and he was just blown up. He had a huge song.
That was DaBaby?
Yeah, it was DaBaby. I think it was right before he did the Dua Lipa feature.
That was before he was
really
big, right?
Major. He was still big. He was big enough to do the Breakfast
I didn't know
Club.
who he was,
huge.
right?
So of course, like Bonong's in the studio, I'm holding the camera, filming this lady, like the assistant, holding her lights and stuff. And then DaBaby comes in with his whole team, like superstar gonna take her place right after, and he's managed by Derek, my manager. And the last time I had seen Derek was I was literally in the same studio, doing not the Breakfast Club, but like the one junior show from it. And I'm like literally holding the things and like I'm like, oh hey, and I'm like trying to like save face, you know, and Bonong's assistant or someone's like, yo Nick, like I need some coffee or like some shit, you know, and I'm like, oh
they
my
weren't
God.
doing that. They were not saying that.
I'm like writing down.
You weren't
things,
doing that. No,
like,
he's lying.
Like, yo, do you have her shoes?
He's
She needs a
joking.
breath mint, and I'm like, oh my God.
That's not true.
And like Derek's looking at me like, what happened?
But you know what?
Like, oh my God.
You know what
I
you
could've
told me
just
though?
Died. Like it was bad.
Something you said to me, and I'll never
Bad.
forget it. He goes, this is my old manager. He's like, I was doing what he's doing with this guy. I didn't know it was DaBaby at the time.
No, I was like the Bonong in the moment. Like I used to walk in with like lights, camera, action, and like photographers, everyone going crazy and stuff, and managers and publicity and producers and the whole thing. Like no, I was not holding anybody's lights, but whatever.
You were a team player,
Okay,
man.
that
That was
happens.
awesome.
It happens. And you know what?
Do you feel like that was a humbling moment?
Of course.
Real 100%?
Listen, I had so many humbling moments, Brian. Like the amount of times I have been on stage in front of everybody or in the media over the last 13 years and just had, as I said, flop after flop after flop,
That's
or have
not
a single
true.
not work.
It's not true.
Or the performance not work, or the song comes out, streaming numbers are shit, or whatever. Or the radio doesn't, the record label drops you, like the modeling agency drops you.
Forget
like,
the commercial.
I've been so dumped. It's unbelievable. I think I'm like the most famously dumped person ever. But you know what?
Man,
Guess
you know
what?
what though?
Guess what?
I've seen people. So commercially, whatever you say, we cannot go. We can walk the streets of New York right now, and we can run into 1 million people, and no one had a top 50 hit. You know, but the music that you have, the music you have,
and they didn't write their own songs,
affected people, and
it did affect some people.
And I've got people all over the world texting me today and screenshotting me in their car,
so cute,
going like, "Man, I love this song. I love the song. We sang this song in hotels."
Honestly,
so that touches people.
And you know, it was the thing that is cool is like, so number 42 or 46 or whatever is not like number one, right? But think about how famous a top 40 song is, right? The whole world knows it, right? Like everybody knows pretty much every song on the top 30 or 40. So if you're 42 or 45, like you're like probably 90% of that or 95% of it or even 70% of it on a terrible day or something. So it's not to say that you like got all the way there, but like, I mean, we were getting, I think like 5 million listeners a week on like terrestrial at one point. Like I had people calling me from Hawaii, from Vegas, from everywhere in the world.
People
being
still message you around the world, right? Like people in Asia.
People still send me messages now, mostly in Asia now, because I really like haven't posted anything music wise. But I had like a lot of people, like millions of people heard the song. Is the point? Like tens of millions of people. So I had people from everywhere calling, being like, "Oh my God, you're on the radio," and like, "Oh my gosh, so cool." Or like I would go like, you know, anywhere I went, like people would be like, "Oh my God, like I heard your song," or that. So like I did like experience the success of it. It was just like parlaying the immediate like short term like fame and buzz and hype of it into like a long term business strategy that me and my team completely failed at, and that's what fizzled it out. But now starting from experience and understanding how it works a lot better, and also now not depending on a label, I think that you can like figure it out. And I think people respect people that like fall down and get up.
And that's what life's about. That's what life's all about.
And like I've definitely fallen down more than anybody in music. And by the way,
I've taken a lot of falls.
You've taken a lot.
I've taken a lot of falls.
Yeah, and I think we can all relate to taking a lot of falls. And I've seen so many of my friends that were like, I remember like being back in LA when we were all 16, 18, 19, running around. Everyone was like a YouTube star, an influencer, or this or that. And I used to think like, oh my God, like I was stressed out, but these kids had it really bad, like by comparison. And like a lot of those kids are now like famous and have made it, and they have like millions of followers. And like some of my best friends that like ate shit for 10 years and now they have like 5-6 million followers, whatever. Like I know so many people that I used to be like not ahead of, but in so much better of a situation then. And then like they have now like just pushed through and made it, even though it's taken like 16
just took another
years.
road. You just took another road. That's all.
And like really, it just I commend so many of them for their pure sheer perseverance and grit and just refusal to not allow it not to happen. And I kind of realized that like had I just done that as well, instead of like make this huge drama and like step back from it, that I would have also just been there as well. You know, if you just literally keep beating that dead horse until it literally comes back to life, like.
But everyone, you know, the
then
path.
you can make it happen.
Your path just went a different way. So let me ask you a
Yeah.
question about like Steve. What kind of role does he play in your life? I mean, is he like a role model? Is he inspirational to you? Have you learned a lot from him?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, of
You know,
course.
and same with your
Like,
real father's correct.
Yeah, I mean, like he's like I have a lot of. I'm very blessed to have like multiple like father figures. I have Steve and my dad, and then I have like my mom, and I have Debbie and Miriam, who my father was like with each of them for 10 years following the divorce. So, and I have like step siblings, and I have, you
So
know,
you have a good team around you.
Yeah,
good
well,
support.
I have a really great family, and it's a big family, and it's a modern family of lots of different people that have come together, and thank God everyone is friends, and like and
It's
we all love
healthy-
each other and
healthy
get along,
environment.
and so
So you go from holding the iPhone camera for Red Button, right?
yeah.
I'm kidding. And
I
then now,
know.
so how do you get into art?
So I started with the art dealing.
So let's take it back. So now you have action art, right?
Yeah, so I have action art now.
Tell us the story, because this is fascinating to me. This is a fascinating story because I'm your friend. I follow you, and I've seen the beginning of it. And what I think you guys did was so genius. You guys took. Let's start with He's. You
Yeah.
took this was a guy that wasn't a famous artist,
Right.
and you guys basically started again at the bottom.
Like made him famous from nothing.
And you
yeah.
started at the bottom, and you went to Paris, and you did the
Right.
shows. You hustled. It was like a
Right.
straight,
We
like
hustled-
ground rules,
hustled our ass
ground. Put the boots on. So go ahead and tell the story.
Yeah, we literally bootstrapped it and did it from nothing. So
Absolutely nothing.
you know, Cameron has a great eye in production because of you and working.
I mean, 'cause of
working
him,
with you and
actually.
for
He
Red
just has
Red
it.
Button,
Yeah.
and he just has it. He's
Yeah.
like super good at what he does. And so, and then I know a lot about marketing promotion from making such hype in music. And so I like know how to make someone famous or a product famous in a certain
But what
realm.
was the plan? So look, we're gonna take He's.
So Cameron was like, "This is a really good aesthetic.
And
Let's
that guy-
take this artist and let's see if we can sell him."
And you guys are nothing at this point, right?
Nothing.
You're just.
We
you
took
just-
like ink drawings on paper. I mean, Hayes didn't even have money to paint in color or on canvas.
So you had to give him the money.
I mean, me and Cameron had like $2,000, like nothing. I was broke from this
everyone-
destructive music situation that just ruined my entire life. And then, so we took like $2,000 and 3 drawings on paper on ink from Hayes, and we were like, let's try to sell them. And we sold a few for like $400, like a little
So
bit
it
of money to
started
get
that low.
by. Started that low. Then we sold 3. Our big sale that set us off was a very good friend of mine in Palm Beach, and she bought 3 works.
He's from He's?
from
Okay.
Hayes.
So
and
what were
it-
those prices?
Well, the 3 works ended up being like around $10,000.
Okay, so now you guys. So
they were
you
like
started,
2,000-3,000 at the time.
But you're starting at $300 to $400 a sale, right? On
Started
a
at
thing.
400 a sale, maybe sold 10.
Okay.
And then from there, we realized like you can't make money on 400 a sale unless
Yeah,
you're going to sell
we gotta- we
thousands
gotta
of
think
them.
bigger.
So we have to think bigger. So we said, okay, let's try and like present him as an artist that we're going to represent long term and put our brand behind and like really reinvest behind, not just sell. So we had the conversation, and we did that first sale. It was like $10,000.
What does that feel like, though?
I mean, it was a big deal. I remember
you
being
made it
on the
feel good,
phone,
right?
and I was like, oh my gosh, I really hope this happens, because if we make this amount of money, it's enough money to like get started. And we did make the money. And then, by the way, the first, I think in our contract with him, I think it was the first 25 or even the first 50,000 was commission free. So me and Cam didn't make any money.
Wait. So the first 10,000 you make goes right
Straight
to
to
him?
him.
So you don't even have startup money then?
No, nothing. But I will say really good credit to his business acumen as an artist, which is sometimes good, sometimes really bad. But at the beginning, instead of him taking it for himself, because he came from, like, he was in poverty at the time and very frugal with his money, and he had been sick with cancer and this whole story, and we didn't have any money at the time. Instead of taking the $10,000 for him,
he put it back
was
into
like,
the
let's
business.
leave it as like a group account for the three of us to like invest into the business. Also, he's our only artist, so
Yeah.
so we used that money to float ourselves for a little bit, and that money got us our tickets to go to Paris, where we connected with a wealthy benefactor who said, come and move into my house. You can have free room and board and everything else, and he can paint here, and we'll try to sell them to the people in the French art market.
And I know the girl, right? Is that the?
You know the girl.
Okay.
Yeah. And but we're not saying names.
No,
in
we're
art.
not saying names.
No. So, but because everyone in art is kind of famous.
But you go to
well-known,
Paris.
so-
I go to Paris. I see you guys for a night or two. We had fun on the boat. Yeah, that
we
was
saw you
fun.
for a night,
And
one
then I was
night,
gone,
and then
right?
we didn't see you for 4 more days.
Okay.
And you disappeared.
So now you have these. So now you're in Paris, right?
we're in
You-
Paris.
You bring Hees,
We bring Hayes.
and so he's
He
so now
starts
you're
painting.
Okay.
And while we're in Paris, because it was COVID and we were one of the few people to get out during like a window in June where they opened flights, and we actually went, took the opportunity. There was a lot of interest in what we were doing because we're Americans in Paris. So people in the American art market actually started buying from Paris. So we were able to sell 2 canvases for like $20,000 each.
And that money went back into the business.
And that money goes back into the
But
business.
does it help? So it help that when I mean by that, it helps you live a little bit, room
Yeah,
and board.
yeah.
Is
Living,
He's there?
eat,
He's in Paris.
He's there. He's in
Okay.
Paris too. So we're all like, we're living very frugally.
So now things are
But
going.
really, I mean, I remember just to buy him canvases, paint, everything that he needed was like $16,000, you know? And
But
then
it's an investment.
And then we get what's it called? Evacuated from France because America says they're not going to shut down the border with COVID.
Wow.
So everyone goes crazy. We'd spend like $4,000 just to get home. And then we left all the paint and canvases, everything was unfinished. So we had to go back to Paris, right? So thank God we were able to sell in America off of like the hype of being in Paris.
So what is that like? So you're now you're getting a little. Now you sold some art in Paris. Now you're back in the U.S. and now do you sell a few art pieces?
Sell some more in the US.
And
And then at that point, we probably had like, 50 grand. And once you have 50 grand, like if you're smart, you can make a business, you know?
okay, and that's what you did.
And that's what we did.
Okay, and then that's amazing. So you got Hees. You start
Yeah.
now. You're starting to roll a little bit.
Now we're starting to roll a little bit. The prices of the paintings are going up. People are excited. We're doing dinners in LA, dinners in New York.
So you're
dinners-
now you're 100% in.
Well, now we're 100% in. Also, you just like have money. Like not you have money, but like if you get a bill and it's
got breathing room.
$2,000 for a dinner for 12 people in New York to do a presentation of art, plus another $2,000 for shipping and lighting to get all the stuff in the room, and like if you have a $4,000 marketing expense, you can actually afford it. Versus before, it was like, no, like we literally cannot do that. Like I
Brian.
have a photo on my iPhone, and like that's all I have to sell you this painting, and like that has to work, because I don't have any other option. I can't bring the painting here. I don't have the money. I can't light it. I can't rent a venue to put the paintings on the wall. I can't do a fancy dinner. So like you have to make it work from nothing, and that's really hard to do. But
You
in
did it.
art you can do that, and in business you've done it as well.
But this is business, man. You did a good job.
Mm.
So okay, so we got Hees. Now things are starting to roll. You got a little bankroll. So now you
Right.
go after other artists.
Now we go after other artists based on what we've done with Hayes and how we're able to build him. So we went after Thank You X,
And what year is this, Nick?
2020 into 2021. We were with Hayes all of 2020. Then 21 we signed Thank You X and then we signed Connor Addison like a year later.
And are you making money with Thank You? So are you selling someone Thank You X and
Thank
the
You
other
X
guy?
exploded.
And now really okay.
Exploded.
So now you're starting to make some money.
Yeah. So I mean, well, now we had 2 artists, so you have like 2 revenue streams, right?
This is all in like 2 years.
Yeah, the first year was Hayes. Second year was Hayes and Thank You X. And it was really cool because Basquiat and Warhol have this whole story in art where they were friends, collaborators, they admired each other, everything else. And Hayes is very similar in his aesthetic style to Basquiat. And Thank You X is very, he looks more like de Kooning, but he's inspired by Warhol. His story comes from Warhol inspired him to be an artist. And so Hayes and Thank You X, we were able to recreate a little bit of a Basquiat Warhol narrative, like the next generation, and show them alongside Basquiat and Warhol in Palm Beach. And that was a big success story, and that really put both artists on another level. And then from there, we had Connor Addison, who we signed, who's like a modern surrealist.
And do you know anything about art 3 years before this or no?
Not really. I mean,
Wow.
like
It's fascinating,
I
isn't it?
grew up with a lot of art. Like I lived amongst art. Steve has one of the most famous collections in the world, but really that's something that is Steve's unique taste and his experience and management, and that's what he does, you know, with his art, and it comes from him. It's direct. Like I'm not really, there's no decision making of me in that process.
But what's fascinating, Nick, is that you guys took, again, a blank canvas.
Took a blank canvas and painted something.
And painted something.
And that's what you have to do. And so I guess that's what I did with music. That's what I did with modeling. That's what I did with art. Art has been really successful, thank God.
And you've created this world around you too, right? So now you're located in like during the fall and the winter, you're in West Palm.
Palm Beach.
Palm Beach,
Yeah.
and then you guys have action art. So you have an actual gallery,
We have an actual gallery.
and you're selling what out of there?
We're selling everything.
Like what? Give me something. Like
Everything
what?
from like de
Picasso.
Kooning, Liechtenstein, Warhol. We don't put like Picasso in the gallery, but anything that we can get our hands on that's good. We have a private sales division that is normally, you know, multi-million-dollar artworks. Then we have like a blue chip division, which is like 6-figure, 7-figure artworks.
What's the most expensive art piece you've sold to date?
Again, it's difficult to say because of like, you know, there's a lot of
Privacy?
confidentiality and privacy in art, but like, you know, up there.
7 figures? Just you don't have to say the number. Just
Yeah,
higher or
like-
lower than 8 figures.
Multi-million-dollars.
Okay, that's
art
fascinating.
or-
So they go from selling $400 pieces of art
yeah,
from a no-name artist out of Palm Springs, California,
out of a garage.
out of a
or on
garage,
phone.
to selling 7. He's not going to say exactly the number, and I understand why, but 7 to 8 figure arts. It's
Yeah.
fascinating.
And where was that artist based that you found the first one?
He
Palm,
was in a
Palm
garage.
Springs.
He was
in
Palm Beach.
Palm Springs.
Palm Springs.
Palm Springs in California, like living more or less like Cameron was helping him out.
There's a
And
really good
Cameron
story.
met him in L.A. like when he was
He
traveling.
discovered Cameron.
He used to be a photographer, and he discovered Cameron and shot him as a model.
Wow.
And then Cameron came to New York with this artist to be a model, and he got him signed to all the top agencies and stuff. And then when Cameron was in New York modeling is when he met Brian.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then I met Brian through Cameron.
And now you're in Palm Beach, and I mean, look, I see you guys on magazines. I see
Yeah.
you guys like what, man? This is a fascinating story.
It's business. Like we really like we're in this community. Palm Beach is an ultra wealthy community. It's one of the wealthiest pockets in the world, and we were really embraced and welcomed, especially during COVID. Everyone left New York and came down there, so there was this big migration of people, and we threw ourselves into the community, and we showed up for everyone's events. We were on every charities committee
Nonstop
and
work.
chair board. We went to every show open. I mean, we did everything with and for everyone that we could. Obviously, like because we were, you know, very thankful to be there. But we're so thankful that it came back to us. So we sort of became like social young staples of the community, and that's why we were asked to do the magazine covers and
What were you guys named? Like something? You guys were named something, right? Or
like Palm Beach's power couple or
Yeah,
something, like
like-
Palm Beach power couple, youngest power
like
couple.
in
something.
art sales. I
Yeah,
mean, man, it's
I mean, we did-
fascinating.
we
You
did-
didn't know this, did you?
No, I didn't know.
Yeah, I
That's
mean it's
amazing.
crazy. Like I have probably done more press and more more magazine covers and photo shoot, all these things in art than I did in music, because there's so much. There's a whole interest in art too, and like fine artists are famous as well within their own pockets, just like every artist is famous in their own demographic, and we've really built a brand and invested a lot into PR and into marketing and client relations and doing huge parties and like marketing all over the world.
And you love doing this, don't you?
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, I professionally threw parties and was the performer. You know, I was in the nightclub 6 nights a week working. So
Now you're holding the camera.
I'm so
kidding.
well. Now I'm holding the camera.
Now you're drawing
but
the canvas.
I'm really comfortable at entertaining people. So I kind of applied the record label aspect of marketing to an emerging artist. Like, think about it this way: if you're an artist and you're already, let's say you already have like 10,000 monthly listeners or 100,000 monthly listeners. For a painter, that might be you're selling a canvas for like $2,000 to $5,000. You're selling like 2 or 3 a month or something. There's a little audience there. You're making some money. There's something going, right? If I then put behind you built-in distribution, lots of money, a full PR team, marketing, shows, features with famous other artists, and a whole network of clients, like, are you going to do better or are you going to do worse? Of course you're going to do better, right? Mm-hmm. Now, we don't know if you're going to go from like 10,000 monthly listeners to like 10 million, or if you're going to go from 10,000 to 100,000, right? But we go hard and invest behind all of our artists as if we're going to take them all the way to the top. And like, for the most part, we have accomplished incredible things with our artists in 3 years that most artists that even that are dead have not achieved the prices and fame.
So the moral of all this, right, is
of our artists.
Was signed by Sony. Now he's Sony.
Yeah,
you're signing the artist.
I'm Sony. Yeah, I'm signing the artist now. Like I can, I mean, I remember a lot of people told me like during my career as an artist, they're like, don't be the king, like be the kingmaker, like try to be the label, you know. I mean, of course, when you are the company, it's bigger than, you know, the revenues, the money, the staff. It's just insane. It's huge. So no one can compete with a machine like that. But you know, so we have a machine in art, and we find artists that we believe in and we back them. We go hard for them, just like a record label does, or multiple other channels now. And we've been successful, thank God. We haven't
just keep grinding. You just gotta keep grinding.
Yeah, and you just keep grinding. And we have 4 or 5 artists now.
Wow,
yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah,
man, amazing. So,
and then you're now gonna make time again. Now this has kind of got a good base and has got some wind in the sail. You're gonna start to dial back in music, develop another track.
I mean, I don't know.
It's still there, isn't it?
It's still there. I mean, I can tell. He talked about it too.
We should write something.
It never leaves. Like, it's always there. Like, yeah. You have to dive back in. And again, I've learned so much about business, about management, about art, about being an artist, and also about managing an artist. Like, because I'm on the phone with like all of my, but I'm on the phone with all of my artists now, and I understand. Like, I'm having these conversations with myself from 5 years ago, where I'm like on the phone to my manager, and I'm like, oh my God, like I want to do this show, and I need this money, and I need this thing, and I have to do that, and like, can you call this person and this and that, and like, it's interesting how like, being the business now, you can just step back from all of it, and you're just like, no, that doesn't make sense, or this is going to happen this way, or like it's going to take a little more time, or however it's going to happen is going to happen, but at least you know how to not screw it up and make it like I had before, like a big firework that accomplishes what you want, and then it just burns out. So now I think I've learned so much about business and management, and also time management, money management, and everything. Because when I was an artist, like, I didn't have any money. I would just call Sony, and like they were doing it. You know, you don't know.
Like, we'll get the money. Sony's like, we'll get it back. Don't worry.
Yeah. They're like, yeah, we'll do this and we'll do that. Oh, they're like 10,000 here, 20,000, and suddenly you're like, everyone's out. Oh, sorry, single didn't blow up. Like, bye.
See ya, bye.
Yeah, see you next artist, and you're like,
Sony disconnects their phone.
Yeah.
It's like,
so,
what?
like, anyway, so I think now that I've learned a lot, and I just know how to approach it as a business, and
you got to learn to fail to succeed.
Yeah,
that's so true.
Yeah, and the consistency, and like it's just it's so important. Like,
well, I'm happy we had Nick on, one of my favorite artists, like my favorite songs.
Thank you, Brian.
Nick, before we go, we just want to thank you. You have anything else for Nick? We got something for you, Nick.
Also, where do people go to find you? What's the website? What's the Instagram handles?
Instagram is at Nick Hissom, NickHissom, and that's mostly art driven currently. And then my Facebook page, of all places, is currently like where a lot of the music or like more influencer based content is, which is like just Nick Hissom on Facebook. It's a Facebook page.
Yeah,
and then the website for the art gallery.
The art gallery website is Action Art, but with a K, so AKTIONART.com. And you can find all of our artists there.
And there's one before you go. We have one thing for you, Adam. You can bring it up. We appreciate it, man. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Was it fun?
That was so fun.
It was good, right?
I'm like nervous, but I was like excited about it.
It went good, right?
Oh my God.
So we have something for.
Wow, guys, look at this. Do more podcasts. Do more podcasts. You can get some things from Dior. This is so cool. Thank you, Brian.
No problem, man.
What are these? Are these shoes?
Thank God. It's from all of us, you know?
Thank you, guys.
Summertime.
Look at these. Wow. So fresh. These are beautiful.
Awesome.
Thank you, buddy.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Come on, brother.